Beloved, tonight we step into a divine alignment where favor is no longer something we chase, but something that chases us. I decree and declare that the atmosphere is shifting even now, because when you understand spiritual authority, you stop begging life to cooperate and you command heaven's resources to respond. This is not a casual prayer. This is a strategic moment where God marks you for distinction, where doors recognize your name, and where your presence carries advantage wherever your feet shall tread. I need you to understand this by revelation. Favor is not luck, and it is not random. Favor is a force released by God that causes systems, people, and circumstances to work on your behalf. Tonight, we are activating the kind of favor that goes ahead of you, stands beside you, and follows you relentlessly. When you walk into rooms, resistance breaks. When you apply your hands to work, excellence speaks. When you show up, heaven backs you up. There are some of you listening who have been faithful, consistent, and obedient, yet you have felt delayed, overlooked, or underestimated. Hear me clearly. This prayer is recalibrating your spiritual positioning. Favor is about to interrupt cycles of struggle and replace them with supernatural ease. What took others 10 years will not take you that long. What required explanation before will now require no introduction. Tonight, we legislate in the realm of the Spirit that favor will locate you at work. Favor will locate you in business. Favor will locate you in interviews, contracts, relationships, and decisions. I declare that your name will be remembered in rooms you are not present in. Conversations will turn in your favor. Policies will bend for your benefit. This is the advantage of the righteous, and you are stepping into it now. If you are ready to receive this prayer and align with what God is releasing, I want you to participate actively. Like the video and subscribe to the channel for daily prayer, because consistency keeps you positioned for overflow. Write amen in the comments as a prophetic seal, and also comment one thing you believe in God for today, because expectation gives favor a target. Favor is not merely a concept to be admired from afar. It is a tangible spiritual force, a dynamic energy that operates in the unseen realm but produces undeniable results in the natural. Tonight, I want you to settle in your spirit and receive the revelation that favor is not passive and it is not random. Favor is an active force that God has made available to you, a force that can be commanded, activated, and position over your life. When you understand the mechanics of spiritual favor, you no longer wait in frustration or confusion. You no longer wonder why opportunities seem delayed or why blessings appear to bypass you. You begin to recognize that favor is a powerful divine resource that works on your behalf, aligning circumstances, people, and events to move you into God's purpose with ease and acceleration. Favor is more than just luck. Favor is not the occasional stroke of fortune or the happenstance that falls into your lap. Favor is deliberate, intentional, and strategic. It is the hand of God that goes before you to make the crooked places straight. The hand of God that opens doors for which there are no natural explanations. Favor is a supernatural alignment that causes systems, situations, and people to bend toward you, often in ways that defy law. This is why favor is often associated with success, promotion, and divine acceleration. But I want you to hear me tonight. Favor is not just about personal gain. It is about positioning you for divine assignment. Favor is the mechanism by which God places you in the right place at the right time to fulfill His plan. Now, I need you to understand something deeply. Favor can be commanded. Favor responds to authority. Favor responds to prayer, decree, and alignment with God's principles. When you recognize that you have been given spiritual authority, you understand that you are not subject to random outcomes. You are not at the mercy of circumstances. Favor responds when you speak and declare in faith. Favor responds when you step into obedience and maintain integrity in your dealings. And it is activated by your words, by your faith, and by the intentional steps you take in alignment with God's will. This is why the Word of God tells us that we can speak life and death into situations, that we can decree things into existence, and that heaven responds to the voice of faith. Favor is part of this spiritual economy. It responds when it is commanded through understanding, faith, and action. I want you to imagine favor as a spiritual current flowing invisibly through the universe, waiting to be released, waiting to be aligned with your purpose. It is always present, but it is not always active in your life unless you intentionally activate it. The moment you begin to understand that you can engage favor, your perspective shifts. You begin to operate from a place of expectancy rather than despair. You begin to see doors open where previously there were walls. You begin to experience relationships turning in your favor where previously there was opposition. You begin to recognize that people who seemed indifferent suddenly become advocates. Opportunities that seem distant suddenly appear. Conversations that seem ordinary suddenly carry strategic significance. Favor is not passive, it is responsive. Favor is not silent, it speaks in results. Let me also remind you that favor is a spiritual force that can follow you. Favor is not limited to a location or situation. Favor follows those who are aligned with God's purposes. When you walk in obedience, favor attaches to your steps. When you cultivate a life of integrity and faith, favor shadows your movements. When you position yourself in prayer, favor travels ahead of you, preparing the way for divine encounters, appointments, and openings. This is why some people move through life seemingly unnoticed, and yet everything they touch prospers, while others struggle endlessly despite their efforts. Favor is the difference. It is the unseen hand that moves in your favor because God is with you. I want you to hear the power in this revelation. Favor is not passive waiting. It is active movement. It is not something you stumble into accidentally. It is something you activate by alignment with God. You activate favor by living a life of integrity. You activate favor by remaining faithful in the small things. You activate favor by speaking words of faith, by praying strategically, and by taking steps in obedience even when the outcome is not yet visible. Favor is released in response to your faith and obedience. It is responsive to your spiritual positioning. When you understand this, you stop blaming circumstances and people for your lack of progress. You stop feeling overlooked or frustrated because you recognize that the activation of favor is within your authority when you walk in alignment with God. Let's talk about obedience for a moment. Obedience is the key that opens the doors of favor. When you align your life with God's instructions, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, favor responds. God honors faithfulness. God honors integrity. God honors a heart that seeks Him above all else. Favor does not bypass those who walk in alignment with God's will. Favor flows toward those who position themselves to receive it. This is why some people pray, yet their prayers appear dormant. They are praying, but they are not walking in obedience to release favor. They are seeking results without engaging the mechanism God has provided. Favor responds when you are positioned rightly, when your life is aligned with God's principles, and when your faith is active. I want to speak to those of you who have been faithful but have felt delayed, overlooked, or underestimated. I want you to hear tonight that favor can break every limitation that has held you back. Favor can bypass opposition. Favor can accelerate timelines. Favor can make what seems impossible possible. Favor can open doors that no man can close. Favor is not subject to human reasoning or human effort alone. It is divine intervention in your life, strategically released to accomplish God's purposes. And you have authority to activate this force, to engage it intentionally, to speak it over your life and circumstances, and to position yourself for its power to manifest. Favor also produces influence. Favor grants you favor, not just in circumstances, but in relationships, in networks, and in environments. When favor is activated, people begin to recognize the value in your presence. People begin to respond positively to your ideas, to your proposals, and to your leadership. Favor makes your work stand out. Favor makes your contributions visible. Favor makes your reputation known for good. This is the divine advantage that shifts you from struggling unnoticed to being recognized strategically. Favor is a supernatural multiplier. It is not limited to one area of life. When favor touches your work, it also touches your finances, your relationships, your health, your family, and your influence. Tonight, I want to teach you that favor is not passive. It must be commanded. It must be spoken over your life. It must be activated through prayer and decree. You cannot wait for the world to recognize your potential. You must engage favor and command it to respond. When you pray and declare, Lord, release your favor over my life, over my home, over my work, over my relationships, over every step I take, you are engaging a spiritual law. You are activating a force that will move in your favor. You are telling heaven, I am ready, I am aligned, and I am open to receive the divine assistance that will take me into my next season. Favor is also relational. Favor moves in environments and among people, creating pathways where none existed before. It causes others to cooperate with what God is doing in your life. Favor makes people allies when they would otherwise be obstacles. Favor opens doors of opportunity that human effort alone cannot produce. And because favor is a spiritual force, it can create momentum that continues to build over time. Once favor is activated and positioned, it continues to move in your life, multiplying results, creating influence, and sustaining growth. Favor is never limited. It is a supernatural asset that expands as you walk in alignment with God. Let me encourage you tonight, start speaking favor over yourself and your circumstances. Start declaring, favor follows me wherever I go. Favor goes before me. Favor surrounds me. Favor attaches to my work, my home, my family, and my relationships. Favor opens doors for me that no man can close. Favor positions me for divine advantage. When you begin to decree favor in this way, you are engaging the spiritual laws of God. You are commanding the supernatural to respond. You are positioning yourself to receive opportunities, breakthroughs, and divine acceleration. Favor also operates in timing. Favor makes the right people, the right circumstances, and the right opportunities appear at the exact moment you need them. Favor is not rushed, and favor is not delayed beyond God's perfect plan. When you activate favor, you align yourself with divine timing. This is why some of you have been waiting for long seasons, and you have wondered why breakthrough seems delayed. The breakthrough is already prepared, but it awaits your engagement of favor. When you decree and command favor, you position yourself to meet it at the right time, in the right place, and with the right resources. Favor aligns with God's timing, and when it does, acceleration and success become inevitable. Favor is also a protective force. Favor surrounds you in situations where danger, opposition, or delay may be present. Favor can neutralize conflict, smooth friction, and create environments of advantage. It can cause enemies to become allies and challenges to become opportunities. Favor operates not only to open doors, but to protect the pathways that God has designed for your life. When you understand this, you can walk with confidence, knowing that your steps are guided, guarded, and blessed by divine intervention. You must also understand that favor is cumulative. Favor builds upon favor. When you consistently walk in faith, obedience, integrity, and prayer, favor continues to expand in your life. Every step you take in alignment with God's will increases your favor bank. Every faithful act positions you for further advantage. Favor compounds over time, meaning that the longer you remain faithful and aligned, the more favor accumulates in your life. It is a divine investment that never loses value, and it grows exponentially as you continue to walk in obedience and faith. Tonight, I call you to take authority over your life and activate favor. Declare it, speak it, position yourself for it. Walk into your workplaces, your schools, your homes, your communities, and your networks with the awareness that favor is with you. Let favor speak for you when words are unnecessary. Let favor move in situations where human effort falls short. Let favor open doors that were previously locked. Let favor guide your steps, influence your relationships, and accelerate your destiny. Favor is a force that can be commanded, and tonight you have been positioned to activate it, to release it, and to experience its power in every area of your life. Obedience is more than just following instructions. It is the spiritual currency that activates the favor of God in your life. When you understand obedience, you understand that every step you take in alignment with God positions you for advantage that is supernatural, sustained, and transformative. Obedience is not about mere ritual or habit. It is about cultivating a lifestyle that is in harmony with the principles and directives of God. It is about walking in faith, trusting the invisible, and consistently choosing to honor God's voice above your own reasoning. It is in obedience that the unseen realm responds, that divine strategies are released, and that the opportunities of heaven intersect with the realities of your life. The moment you embrace obedience as a pathway rather than a burden, you step into a life where divine advantage becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Consider the life of every person who has achieved extraordinary outcomes in alignment with God's purposes. You'll notice a common thread: obedience. Obedience positions you. It places you in the right situations, surrounds you with the right people, and prepares you for the seasons that God has predetermined for you. Every act of obedience is a spiritual declaration that you are ready to receive the next level of favor, the next wave of blessings, the next opportunity to fulfill God's purpose in your life. Obedience is not passive. It is active engagement with God's will, a conscious choice to align with what He has spoken, even when the natural evidence does not yet appear. It is in these moments of consistent obedience, when others may falter or choose their own way, that your position for divine advantage solidifies and expands. I want you to hear me clearly tonight. Obedience does not always bring instant reward, but it always brings positioning. It always prepares the ground for breakthrough, and it always aligns you with favor that will manifest in due season. There is a divine principle that operates in the spirit realm. What is sown in obedience is harvested in favor. When you obey God's voice in small matters, you are building a foundation for extraordinary results in greater matter. When you honor God's direction, even in areas that seem insignificant, you are demonstrating readiness for larger responsibility, greater influence, and more substantial advantage. Obedience positions you for favor that cannot be earned by effort alone, for doors that cannot be opened by persuasion alone, and for opportunities that only heaven can orchestrate. Obedience is also about timing. Many people miss their divine appointments because they attempt to accelerate outcomes through impatience or rebellion. Favor and divine advantage operate according to God's perfect timing. Your obedience keeps you in alignment with that timing. When you move too quickly, driven by impatience, you may bypass the blessing that has been prepared for you. When you remain faithful to God's instruction, even when it requires waiting, you maintain your spiritual positioning. Obedience ensures that you are not only ready for what God has prepared, but also that you receive it in the fullness of its power and impact. Every obedient step you take, no matter how small, keeps you in rhythm with God's divine orchestration, ensuring that when opportunity arises, you are standing in the exact place where favor can find you. Let us consider the principle of consistency in obedience. It is not the occasional act of compliance that positions you for sustained advantage. It is the habitual, faithful walk of obedience. When you consistently choose to honor God, even when circumstances are challenging, even when results are delayed, you are establishing a track record of trustworthiness in the spiritual realm. This consistency signals to heaven that you are prepared to steward greater resources, influence, and responsibility. Favor attaches itself to faithfulness. Divine advantage follows reliability. The longer you remain steadfast in obedience, the more you are prepared to step into the next level of God's purpose for your life. Consistency transforms temporary favor into sustained favor, short-term blessings into long-term momentum, and isolated opportunities into a continuous flow of divine advantage. Obedience is also relational. It positions you in harmony with God's presence, which is the source of all favor and advantage. When you obey, you draw closer to God, and in His presence, every resource, strategy, and connection needed for success is made available. The closer you walk to God through obedience, the more you find that doors begin to open naturally, that guidance becomes clearer, and that protection surrounds you. Obedience is not only about doing the right thing, it is about maintaining intimacy with the source of divine favor. The advantage you receive is directly proportional to your alignment with God's heart, your willingness to respond to His voice, and your faithfulness in action. There is also a supernatural element to obedience. When you choose to obey, you are engaging a spiritual principle that transcends natural understanding. Your obedience triggers alignment in the unseen realm, creating pathways for resources, connections, and opportunities to manifest in ways that human logic cannot explain. People may wonder why circumstances suddenly shift in your favor, why opportunities appear unexpectedly, or why influence and recognition come effortlessly. The answer is obedience. Your faithful response to God's direction positions you for supernatural acceleration, for doors to open in your favor, and for favor to become a constant companion in your life. I want to speak to those who have struggled with inconsistency or who feel that obedience is too demanding. Understand this. Every act of obedience, no matter how small, is significant in the eyes of God. Obedience compounds. Small steps, repeated faithfully, produce significant results over time. You may not see the impact immediately, but every decision to honor God, every choice to walk in alignment with His principles, every act of integrity positions you for greater favor than you can imagine. Obedience creates leverage in the spiritual realm that multiplies over time, ensuring that when breakthrough comes, you are already standing in a place of readiness to receive it fully. Obedience is also about integrity. Your positioning for sustained advantage is strengthened when your actions are consistent with your values and your faith. Integrity is the glue that holds favor in place. Favor may visit those who are inconsistent, but it does not remain where integrity is absent. When you maintain integrity in all areas of your life, personal, professional, relational, and spiritual, you are creating a stable platform for divine advantage to operate without interruption. Integrity ensures that the doors that favor opens remain open, that opportunities are not lost to compromise, and that your influence grows steadily and sustainably. Obedience is relational in another sense. It positions you to influence others positively. When you walk in obedience, you set an example of faithfulness that inspires those around you. You create an environment where favor can multiply, not only in your life, but in the lives of others. Your obedience produces ripples that extend beyond your immediate circumstances, influencing relationships, networks, and communities. Divine advantage is not only for your benefit, it is meant to expand through you, impacting others, and establishing your place as a conduit of God's purpose and provision. Faith is intertwined with obedience. You cannot separate one from the other if you desire sustained divine advantage. Faith motivates obedience, and obedience validates faith. When you believe God's promises and act accordingly, you are signaling readiness for favor to manifest. Every step of obedience taken in faith strengthens your spiritual authority and activates opportunities that were previously inaccessible. Faith without action is incomplete, and action without faith is ineffective. The combination of both positions you powerfully in the pathway of divine advantage, ensuring that your life operates in alignment with God's plan rather than with the limitations of human reasoning. Obedience also produces protection. When you obey God's instructions, you are shielded from pitfalls, unnecessary setbacks, and distractions. The path of obedience is a path of alignment, and alignment produces favor and protection simultaneously. Favor is attracted to those who are positioned rightly, and your obedience ensures that your steps are ordered by God. You avoid traps, circumvent unnecessary opposition, and remain in environments where your influence and opportunities can flourish. This is why obedience is critical. It positions you for advantage and safeguards you from forces that could hinder your progress. Consider also the principle of leverage in obedience. Every obedient act creates leverage for future advantage. When you honor God in one area, He releases resources, wisdom, and opportunities into other areas of your life. Obedience is not confined to a single action. It is cumulative and expansive. It builds a momentum that cannot be easily reversed. Favor attaches itself to those who are consistent, faithful, and aligned. Divine advantage multiplies when obedience is practiced strategically and intentionally. Each step you take, each instruction you follow, and each principle you honor compounds into a force that propels you into sustained success and supernatural alignment. Tonight, I want to remind you that positioning is everything. You may have talent, education, and resources, but without obedience, you are limited in your capacity to access divine advantage. Obedience positions you where you need to be at the exact moment with the exact preparation necessary for success. Favor, provision, and opportunity converge on those who are obedient, creating pathways that would otherwise remain closed. The life of obedience is not a life of limitation. It is a life of preparation, alignment, and readiness for sustained divine impact. Obedience also speaks to trust. When you obey, you demonstrate that you trust God's wisdom, timing, and purpose. Trust and obedience are inseparable. The greater your trust in God, the more readily you will obey, and the more favor you will activate in your life. Your obedience signals to heaven that you are dependable, that you are ready, and that you are willing to align your will with God's. Trust removes hesitation, doubt, and resistance, allowing favor to flow unimpeded and advantage to be sustained. I want to speak to those who have faced delays or setbacks. Obedience positions you for breakthrough precisely because it keeps you in alignment when others falter. While others may abandon faith, compromise values, or act impulsively, your obedience sets you apart and positions you strategically. Favor is drawn to those who are consistent in faithfulness, patient in timing, and deliberate in their alignment with God's instructions. Your obedience ensures that when opportunity arises, you are standing ready, prepared, and positioned to receive it fully. Favor is not just a blessing, it is a strategic force that causes people, circumstances, and systems to align with God's divine plan for your life. When you understand the power of favor, you realize that it is far beyond ordinary luck, timing, or effort. Favor is an intentional force released by God that positions you for supernatural advantage. It is not limited by human understanding, societal limitations, or ordinary resources. It flows into your life and begins to orchestrate connections, influence, and opportunities that are perfectly aligned with the destiny God has planned for you. I want you to take a moment and reflect. How many times have you wished for doors to open or situations to change, only to realize that the right people or circumstances were not in place? Favor is the divine solution to those moments. It moves where human influence cannot reach. It causes cooperation where there was resistance, and it aligns your life with God's perfect plan. Favor is not random. It is relational and operational. It causes people to respond positively toward you, even when they might otherwise act indifferently or oppose you. Favor intervenes in systems, whether corporate, social, governmental, or relational, and aligns them to cooperate with the purposes of God. Have you ever noticed situations where you showed up and suddenly things shifted in your favor without explanation? That is the movement of divine favor at work. It positions you in the right conversations, the right meetings, and the right environments where the decisions, resources, and opportunities you need are made available to you. Favor is not coincidence. It is a spiritual mechanism that activates when your life is aligned with God's will and your faith engages it. I want to ask you this. How have you experienced favor in your own life? Was there a moment when things suddenly worked out for you against the odds? Comment below and share that testimony, because your story is evidence of God's alignment in action. Favor is relational. It moves through influence, integrity, and preparedness. People respond to those who are positioned rightly, and favor ensures that the right individuals intersect your life at the right moment. It is why some doors close easily for others, but open effortlessly for those whom God has prepared. Favor does not manipulate people. It positions you in such a way that their cooperation aligns with God's purpose. Systems also respond to favor. It is remarkable how favor works in institutional, organizational, and societal frameworks. When you are operating in alignment with God, policies, procedures, and hierarchies that once seemed rigid begin to bend in your direction. Favor navigates bureaucracy, transforms resistance, and creates space for advancement. This is why you may see certain people promoted, certain projects approved, or certain ventures succeed while others struggle under similar conditions. It is not merely effort or merit alone. It is favor strategically working to cooperate with God's plan for your life. Reflect on this. Have you ever felt stuck in a process, waiting on approvals, or encountering obstacles that seemed insurmountable? Comment and share what you are currently trusting God to shift for you, because this principle of favor is for you in that very situation. Favor has the capacity to cause alignment not only with people, but with circumstances, timing, and resources. It moves invisibly, orchestrating breakthroughs in ways that human strategy cannot achieve. Favor is the divine intervention that allows you to experience outcomes that are otherwise unattainable. When you position yourself in faith, obedience, and alignment, you activate this force, and the very systems that once seemed to hinder you begin to cooperate with God's plan. Favor also causes opportunities to multiply. One moment of divine alignment can trigger a cascade of favorable circumstances. People who were indifferent suddenly become advocates. Systems that were restrictive suddenly release resources. Doors that were closed suddenly open wide. Favor creates momentum that is beyond human calculation. It is why some seasons in life feel effortless, as though everything is working in your favor, while other seasons may feel like struggle and resistance. The difference is favor. It aligns your life with God's timing, purposes, and orchestration. This is why you are encouraged to stay faithful, consistent, and patient. Favor builds cumulatively and works in conjunction with your preparation and spiritual alignment. I want to challenge you tonight. Are you fully aligned with God's plan? Are you positioned to receive the favor that causes people and systems to cooperate with your destiny? Comment below and reflect honestly, because alignment with God is the prerequisite for favor to operate unhindered. Favor does not operate in chaos, disobedience, or misalignment. It requires readiness, integrity, and trust in God's process. The more you cultivate these qualities, the more favor can move without obstruction, guiding relationships, resources, and circumstances to fulfill divine purposes. Favor is also protective. When you are in alignment with God, favor does more than open doors. It safeguards your path. It prevents interference, neutralizes opposition, and ensures that your steps are guided strategically. People may attempt to hinder your progress, systems may present challenges, and circumstances may seem daunting, yet favor moves to shift these elements in cooperation with God's plan. Favor protects you while advancing you. It positions you in spaces where you can thrive, not just survive. Have you noticed moments when challenges appeared, but somehow the outcome was still favorable? That is the protective and cooperative aspect of favor at work in your life. I want you to hear this deeply. Favor is not limited to your efforts or your talents. While your skills, diligence, and preparation are important, favor amplifies them. It is the supernatural element that causes human efforts to succeed in ways that logic and strategy alone cannot achieve. Favor ensures that the right people recognize your value, that opportunities appear at the right moment, and that circumstances bend to fulfill God's purpose. This is why some efforts seem ordinary but yield extraordinary results. Favor is the multiplier that elevates your life beyond what natural means can produce. I ask you tonight, what areas of your life are you currently trusting God to bring cooperation and alignment? Share it in the comments, because faith activates favor. When you publicly declare what you are believing for, you set the spiritual law into motion, creating expectation and engaging heaven's resources on your behalf. Favor is responsive to prayer, declaration, and expectation. It moves toward those who trust God's timing and engage his principles. By identifying the areas where you need cooperation, you invite God to release favor strategically and intentionally, allowing systems, people, and circumstances to work together in your favor. Favor is strategic. It positions you in relationships, careers, ministries, and opportunities that are not random, but are divinely orchestrated. When you are in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, and stepping into the right situations, you recognize the movement of God's favor. It is no accident that some doors open for you while others remain closed. It is the intentional cooperation of divine favor causing people and systems to align with God's plan for your life. Favor ensures that your presence is impactful, your influence is recognized, and your assignments are fulfilled according to God's timing and purpose. Think about the connections you currently have. Are you walking in favor with the people you need for your next season? Comment below and identify at least one relationship where you are trusting God for alignment. Favor works relationally, meaning that it can transform interactions, influence decision makers, and guide conversations toward outcomes that support your destiny. When you walk in integrity, consistency, and faith, favor positions you strategically within networks and communities that amplify your purpose. It causes influential people to notice you, stakeholders to cooperate with your vision, and systems to bend toward provision and opportunity. Favor is also a catalyst for supernatural acceleration. When people and systems begin to cooperate, you experience results faster, more efficiently, and more profoundly than through human effort alone. It is why some breakthroughs seem sudden while others take years to manifest. Favor coordinates the unseen forces of heaven to work with the natural world, producing outcomes that surpass expectation. The cooperative movement of favor ensures that your efforts are multiplied, your progress is accelerated, and your destiny unfolds in alignment with God's plan. I want to remind you, favor is activated through spiritual alignment, prayer, and obedience. It is not passive. It is not incidental. It requires intentional engagement with God. Favor responds to faith-filled actions, to declarations of destiny, and to a heart that is positioned for divine alignment. This is why you must intentionally seek God's guidance, remain faithful in small matters, and cultivate readiness for supernatural cooperation. When you do, people, systems, and circumstances will naturally begin to cooperate with the unfolding of God's plan for your life. Tonight, I challenge you to reflect deeply. Are there systems, relationships, or situations in your life that have resisted progress? Are there doors that remain closed despite your efforts? Comment below and share one area where you are believing God to release favor. When you declare your faith publicly, you engage the spiritual principle of favor, inviting divine cooperation to move strategically and powerfully. Favor is not limited. It is expansive, relational, and operational. It works in all areas of your life to align circumstances with God's perfect plan. Favor also encourages perseverance. When people and systems begin to cooperate, you realize that your efforts are not in vain. Your faithfulness, your prayer, and your alignment with God produce tangible outcomes. Favor motivates, strengthens, and sustains you as you move forward. It causes breakthroughs to occur when you are most committed to your purpose, ensuring that your journey is not only victorious but also transformative. Favor is a divine reinforcement that aligns the spiritual and natural realms in cooperation with God's plan for your life. Favor is a powerful, supernatural force that can accelerate progress in your life in ways that human effort alone cannot achieve. It is the divine intervention that allows you to accomplish in months what others struggle to achieve in years. Favor is the hand of God moving on your behalf, shortening seasons of delay and bringing divine alignment to your journey. Tonight, I want you to settle in your spirit and understand that favor is not passive. It is dynamic, intentional, and responsive to your obedience, faith, and alignment with God's will. When you grasp this principle, you begin to see delays not as setbacks, but as opportunities for divine acceleration to manifest. Favor does not wait for human timing. It operates according to God's perfect orchestration, and when it touches your life, it produces momentum that propels you forward at an exponential pace. Think about the moments in your life where progress seemed impossible. You may have faced doors that refused to open, opportunities that seemed distant, or circumstances that felt immovable. Favor is the supernatural force that interrupts these delays and creates pathways where none previously existed. It moves invisibly in your favor, causing systems, people, and situations to align perfectly with God's plan. Have you ever noticed how some breakthroughs appear suddenly, almost overnight, in ways that defy logic or explanation? That is favor at work. Favor accelerates your progress, shortens the waiting period, and positions you for success before you even fully understand the strategy behind it. I want you to reflect for a moment. How long have you been waiting for a breakthrough in your life? How many seasons have felt long and tiresome, filled with anticipation and frustration? Comment below and share the areas where you are trusting God to release favor. When you engage in this exercise, you are aligning your faith with the supernatural principle of favor, inviting God to release acceleration in those very areas. Favor does not move randomly. It operates in alignment with the divine purpose. It is strategic, targeted, and intentional. It knows where to go, what to shift, and how to bring resources, people, and opportunities together to produce the desired outcome. Favor is a catalyst for momentum. It amplifies your efforts, multiplying the results of what you do. It is why some individuals seem to move effortlessly through life, achieving results that appear disproportionate to the effort invested. This is not coincidence. It is divine favor, accelerating progress and shortening seasons of delay. When you are aligned with God's principles, when you walk in integrity, and when you remain obedient to His voice, favor positions you for opportunities that others cannot access. It causes doors to open quickly, removes obstacles efficiently, and ensures that your trajectory advances at the pace God intended for you. I want to ask you tonight, are there areas in your life where you feel stuck or delayed? Are there opportunities you've been praying for that have not yet manifested? Comment below and identify one area where you are believing God to accelerate progress in your life. When you declare it, you engage the spiritual law of favor. Favor responds to faith, expectation, and alignment. It is responsive to those who position themselves correctly and who walk in readiness to receive divine acceleration. Favor does not operate in isolation. It works in harmony with your preparation, diligence, and spiritual positioning. Favor also shifts the trajectory of your life. It is not limited to short-term gains. It produces long-term impact. When favor accelerates your progress, it not only shortens the seasons of delay, but also positions you strategically for continued growth and influence. Favor moves ahead of you to prepare opportunities, align resources, and attract people who can support your destiny. It works invisibly yet powerfully, ensuring that when you step forward, the path is clear and momentum carries you to the next level. This is why favor is often associated with divine timing. It is precise, deliberate, and transformative. Consider the nature of delay. Delays are not always negative. They often serve as seasons of preparation, refining, and alignment. However, when favor is released, it can interrupt unnecessary or prolonged delays, ensuring that your season of breakthrough arrives sooner than expected. Favor accelerates what you have been laboring over, condenses waiting periods, and aligns opportunities with your readiness to receive. It is a supernatural mechanism that ensures your progress is not hindered by time, opposition, or obstacles. Favor creates conditions where success is inevitable, momentum is sustained, and your purpose unfolds efficiently. I want you to think about the areas in your life where God has already shown you direction, but the results have been delayed. Are you still trusting Him? Comment below and share one situation where you are expecting acceleration. When you verbalize your expectation, you activate the principle of favor. Favor operates synergistically with your faith, obedience, and expectation. It is responsive to your alignment with God's will and your willingness to receive what He has prepared. When favor touches your life, the pace of your progress changes. The timeline is shortened, and the breakthrough manifests with divine precision. Favor is also relational. It causes people to respond positively, creating cooperation where resistance may have existed. Favor positions you with mentors, partners, and supporters who amplify your progress. It opens doors that seemed previously inaccessible, making key introductions and opportunities available at exactly the right time. When you walk in alignment with God, favor ensures that the relationships necessary for your success are positioned strategically in your life. Have you ever experienced a moment when someone unexpectedly supported you, or when a connection appeared at the exact moment you needed it? That is favor accelerating progress, shortening delays, and creating divine alignment. Favor also amplifies your vision. It allows you to see possibilities beyond natural limitation and positions you to act in alignment with God's purpose. When you step forward in faith, favor works to accelerate the outcomes you have been pursuing. It ensures that your efforts are magnified, your strategies are supported, and your opportunities are expanded. This is why some projects, initiatives, or dreams that seem overwhelming suddenly become achievable when favor is operating. Favor shortens the learning curve, opens doors, and connects you with resources that you may not have considered. I want to challenge you tonight. What dream, goal, or breakthrough are you waiting for that requires divine acceleration? Comment below and declare it, because your declaration positions you to receive favor. Favor is responsive to action, faith, and alignment. It operates synergistically with your efforts, multiplying the results of your labor, shortening seasons of delay, and ensuring that momentum builds in your favor. When you step forward, favor moves ahead of you, breaking resistance, aligning resources, and positioning you for supernatural progress. Favor is also protective in its acceleration. As your progress is expedited, favor shields you from premature exposure, unprepared circumstances, and unnecessary opposition. It ensures that your breakthroughs arrive when you are ready to receive them, protecting your path while advancing your purpose. Favor ensures that acceleration does not lead to overwhelm or misalignment. It orchestrates the timing, resources, and relationships necessary for sustainable success. It works silently, strategically, and powerfully, creating a momentum that is both rapid and guided by divine wisdom. Think about your journey so far. How many times has a breakthrough felt delayed only to arrive in a moment of unexpected favor? How many doors have opened suddenly, shifting your life in ways that could not have been predicted? Comment below and share one example, because every testimony of favor reinforces faith and expectation. Favor accelerates progress by creating opportunities that are divinely timed, strategically aligned, and relationally supported. It ensures that the seasons of waiting are shortened, resistance is minimized, and divine outcomes are manifest. Favor also inspires confidence. When progress accelerates, you begin to recognize God's hand at work and your faith is strengthened. You become more aware of the divine orchestration in your life, and this awareness motivates you to continue in obedience, alignment, and preparation. Favor creates momentum that builds upon itself. As you experience acceleration, your expectation for future breakthroughs increases. This cycle of favor and expectation propels you forward, ensuring that your progress is not only rapid, but also sustained. I want to remind you tonight that favor is not passive. It must be engaged. You must align with God's principles, step out in faith, and position yourself for acceleration. When you do, favor responds, breaking delays, opening doors, and creating momentum that is supernatural in nature. Favor ensures that the right people, resources, and opportunities converge at the exact moment necessary to advance your purpose. This is why understanding the principle of favor is essential for anyone seeking breakthrough, progress, and divine alignment. Reflect for a moment. In what areas of your life are you waiting for God to move? How long have you been anticipating acceleration? Comment below and share one situation where you need favor to shorten the delay, because expectation activates supernatural momentum. Favor is responsive to faith, action, and alignment. It does not operate randomly. It coordinates resources, people, and opportunities strategically, ensuring that progress is accelerated in alignment with divine timing and purpose. Favor is strategic. It positions you in the right places at the right times, ensuring that opportunities, resources, and people converge to propel you forward. Favor does not merely make things easier, it makes them timely, effective, and sustainable. It ensures that your efforts yield exponential results, that delays are minimized, and that your purpose unfolds in alignment with God's perfect plan. Favor is not just a blessing. It is a powerful supernatural force that accelerates progress and shortens seasons of delay, positioning you for advancement beyond natural expectation. Favor is a powerful, ever-present spiritual force that moves with precision when your alignment with God is intact. Tonight, I want you to settle into this truth deeply, that favor is not random, and it is not based solely on effort, talent, or timing. Favor is released strategically in response to your alignment with God's will, your faithfulness, and your obedience. And when you understand this principle, you recognize that favor is not something to chase, but something that follows you wherever you go. Every step of your journey, every place you enter, and every decision you make. Favor is an invisible companion, moving in your direction, positioning you for divine opportunities, protection, and supernatural success. It does not miss its mark. It is deliberate, intentional, and responsive to your spiritual posture. I want to remind you that alignment is everything. When your heart, mind, and actions are aligned with God, you position yourself to attract favor naturally. Alignment means living a life of obedience, faith, integrity, and consistent devotion. It is not about perfection, but it is about a lifestyle that seeks God's direction above all else. Alignment ensures that your steps are ordered, your decisions are guided, and your interactions are harmonious with divine principles. Favor cannot operate fully when alignment is compromised. When you deviate from God's plan, favor may be delayed, minimized, or even blocked. Favor follows those who are in rhythm with God's purpose, and your responsibility is to cultivate that alignment daily. Let me ask you tonight, are you fully aligned with God in your thoughts, actions, and decisions? Are there areas of compromise or inconsistency in your life that could hinder favor? Comment below and reflect honestly, because this self-examination opens the door for favor to flow unhindered. Alignment is more than just spiritual disciplines. It is a heart posture, a commitment to walk in God's ways, even when it is inconvenient, uncomfortable, or counterintuitive. Alignment requires sacrifice, but it also releases